Folks, how we doing? Welcome to Good Works Tractors. Today didn't go exactly as planned. There was a lot of stuff that went wrong. Kind of takes it out of you after a while, but we did have a good experience with the Rammy brush cutter. That's what we're going to show you. And actually, right now, we were supposed to be using the skid steer brush cutter, but let's see, that had a code on my 333G cycle lap bar. So I cycled the lap bar like 500 times and it didn't seem to do anything, and it won't come out of park. So it'll turn on but won't work. So then, like, okay, let's fire up the Rammy and do that and show you. And kind of wanted to showcase a front mount versus a rear mount. We've shown you the Wessex pull type flail mower. This is a front mount brush cutter. They do have a front mount flail mower as well, but there's a trade-off, right, on having a tool in front of you versus behind you. Different hookup requirements, different ways that they mow, turning, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of things that go into that. So started out pretty easy, just mowing a grassy path that we'd done before with the Wessex, actually. So it gave you a good head-to-head there, although it was a flail mower versus a brush hog, but no problems, no issues there at all. It's a very, very mucky part of the property, and even though we haven't had rain in weeks, it is still spongy ground. It's like that black muck that's just hanging out underneath there, waiting to just get you stuck. And don't have any weight on the back of this machine. Realized I probably could have used some weight. Probably would have made a difference. There was a couple of times in the marshy area there where I had to back up and go forward and kind of use a little momentum almost to not get stuck out there. And I think if I would have had a little bit of weight on the back to those main drive tires back here, would have really helped that out. So maybe strap a couple suitcase weights or something along those lines back there. Not the end of the world. So got through that, performed as intended, and I think did a good job. So then I had a real challenge for it. There's a real thick, woody kind of brush line between our trail that we're on and then kind of a dry-ish marshy area that I wanted to just mow it down a bit and put a hunting stand here and just see what happens. That's where things got interesting. So number one that was interesting was the fact that this mower was just mowing through 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. That one trunk there may be close to 4 inch, which is the rated max for this tiny little mower, up to a 4 inch diameter. If I put my 3-point brush hog and tried to mow that tree down, the big one down there, there's no way I could have done it. No way. I wouldn't even have attempted it. So that's incredible in and of itself. But the combination of no weight on the back, a slight slope down with more weight on the front, and then the winch stopped working and we just got stuck, right? Because you do have little stubs, 2-3 inches high, whatever they are, of all the trunks that you're cutting down. And so I was trying to go back, the winch stopped working, it kind of caught on some of those stumps, and without the weight back here for the drive wheels, I was just dead in the water, and that pretty much summed up our day. But I do think that we got enough of a good test on it for grassy areas and for what it can do if you have the right setup, unlike this knucklehead here, to go through rushy material. And then once you go through this stuff one time, it's just maintenance mode, right? You're just going through a few times a year, and it's just all grasses or very tiny woody stem material at that point, so super easy. Folks, we are proud to be sponsored by RimGuard Solutions, a liquid ballast weight. It goes right inside your tires, completely hidden. Not only is it going to help with safety, keeping those rear tires planted on the ground, it helps with loader efficiency and traction too. The benefits of RimGuard include being the heaviest all-natural liquid ballast weight on the market. It's not going to corrode your rims like the old calcium chloride. It's not going to freeze, and it's available at over 1,000 dealers nationwide. Find the dealer near you at rimguardsolutions.com. But this is made in Finland, all right? Comes with a Briggs & Stratton engine on it. Rammy, we sell their front mount snow blowers, their front mount brush hogs, their front mount flail mowers, and then they also have a lawnmower conversion kit. And so if you wanted to get 2 for 1 out of a tool, you can get the brush hog and the lawnmower conversion kit, and there you go. So the difference is though between using a front mount versus a rear mount. All right, so with the rear mount, pretty straightforward. You just get a ball on the back of your ATV or your UTV, hook it on there, and it's still self-powered, that Wessex is, and so you just fire up the engine. Now with a front mount, it's slightly more complicated. I mean, you need a winch to raise and lower it, which pretty much any ATV or UTV is going to have on it. The winch does have to work. That is a critical requirement. If it doesn't work, just don't plan on doing any mowing. The other thing you need to have is a snowplow subframe, all right? And basically, if you think of a snowplow, it's got just a couple of long bars that are at a hinge point that's mounted underneath your ATV. And then again, the plow subframe is connected to the winch, and you would have a snowplow on the front that just raises it up and down. Same concept, instead of just replace the snowplow with the brush hog or with the snowblower or the flail mower or whatever you want. And so it's the same exact concept there. Now on our Ranger, oh, the lights are still on, you must have left the key on it. There is a single post that's up front, and so you can get a single post mount that you call it, and it just mounts right to the front of the Ranger, or I think the Kubota RTVs might have that, and they're getting more and more popular. Not a lot of machines have them, but they're getting more popular out there. So you can avoid that subplow mount and just mount it right to the post up front. Now, I don't know if you'll visually pick up on it or not when we're in the grassy area, but there is definitely, it's just a good time to point out the difference in cut between a flail mower and a brush hog. And so since we did cut that same path, you may be able to pick up on that, how a flail mower, it spins around vertically on a drum, and it does a lot finer mulching compared to a brush hog, whether it's a Rammy or a dirt dog or a rhino or a skid steer mounted brush hog, doesn't really matter. So a brush hog has, just like a lawnmower, right, has blades that spin around horizontally above the ground. Doesn't really chop things up as finely as a flail mower would. But for practical purposes, you know, you're mowing it all down the same. Now, there is a difference between having a front mount unit that's mounted right to your ATV and turning as you turn versus a pull type. So with a pull type, you do need to have, when you're going forward and you're turning, you got to kind of plan on, just like a trailer, right, how it will track. And if you need to back up, that can be, it takes some more skill to back up with a pull type mower, just like a trailer would be, and then go forward again. So you gotta, it takes a little more practice, I'll say, for that, versus the front mount. I mean, you're just turning your machine. You don't have to worry about anything behind you. It's just a little bit tighter, more compact to the tractor as well. But another difference is also with, I talked about having counterweight on the back here. If you have a pull type, the way that the Wessex is set up is most of that weight is on the two outside tires for the pull behind mower, not very much on the tongue. So you don't have a lot of load that's on the ATV or the UTV itself. Whereas with, whatever it is, a couple 100 pounds or so hanging off the front, with this mower, that is on the actual, that load is on the ATV unless you have it lowered down completely riding on the roller there. And so you gotta offset that with some additional weight to make sure you have traction and properly balanced and everything else. Again, unlike me. I'd say one bonus with the pull behind is the fact that you can use it behind different kinds of machines, right? You can use it behind the ATV, the UTV, a tractor, maybe even a large zero turn if you're in the right conditions. There's just more versatility there versus you're kind of stuck with the one machine, being the ATV or the UTV when you're using a Rammy. I will say, if I had a preference overall, I do like having a machine in front of me that's mowing versus behind me. So whether it's the Rammy on a UTV, ATV, or whether it's a brush cutter on a skid steer versus, a pull behind on a tractor or ATV, UTV, it is nicer to have it up front. I'm certainly used to doing that on all the tractors that I have. So again, I'm giving you pros and cons here. If you want to make a decision on what route to go, I'm just trying to give you all the information, all the things that I think are critical to consider when trying to make this decision. So the rest of this project will have to happen another day, but again, we made a dent in it. We can see what it can do, and that was what I was most impressed with. Is I wasn't sure if it was going to go through all that brush there. Chris thought it wouldn't have any issues, and he was right. It didn't have any issues. It was more just bad luck there with the winch, not enough ballast weight in the back here, kind of some wet, sloppy muck starting there, and just the combination of everything. That's just how it goes some of these days. But we like to show you the good and the bad. It's real world, right? Things just don't go perfect all the time, and that's the way it is. But go to goodworkstractors.com if you want to get more information on a Rammy, or if you want to get more information on a Wessex or any other tool that you might need for your ATV, your UTV, your tractor, or your skid steer. We ship nationwide. That's just what we do. We help you out with attachments. If you're not sure what you need, just send us an email. We'll get back to you with our recommendations on what will best work with your machine. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to stop by, and until next time, stay safe. We'll see you soon.